at lovedreamingbeach.com.
I'm back, partially because I had a clip where I had screen recorded some houses around the neighborhood to show how none of the other neighbors had come out, and I guess I forgot to add that clip into the latest video where it was talking about Jen McCabe, guilty v. guilty, which ultimately what I mean is Jen McCabe guilty of doing something terrible or covering up something terrible for somebody else who did something terrible? Or is she guilty because there's a part, maybe she feels guilty that there's a part of her that wonders, what if I had seen John? What if I had actually noticed his body there? Would there have been any chance to save him? And speaking of that, this video is, again, although I'm talking about Karen Read and the Karen Read trial, the purpose of this video and all these videos that I talk about this topic is to find justice for John O'Keefe. Justice. And I'm Kat. This is Kat Love Dreaming Peach, where I explore the fine line between true love and true crime and legal liability. So I was trying to come up with a way to describe partially why I feel that Karen's theory is so unbelievable. Okay, I think this will be the last update for real. I really wanted to know the snow that night. Was it just a snowstorm or an actual blizzard? I'm reading over here. The snow event in Canton, Massachusetts on January 29th of 2022 was officially classified as a blizzard in some parts of the region. Official blizzard criteria by the National Weather Service is to classify a snowstorm as a blizzard, the following must occur for at least 3 consecutive hours. Sustained winds or frequent gusts of 35 miles per hour, consider it falling and or blowing snow, reducing visibility to a quarter mile or less. And that night there was a powerful nor'easter which impacted much of eastern Massachusetts. And it says for Canton, it was approximately 21 inches of snow that fell, and anywhere between 22 to 30 inches in the region. So, yes, unbelievable. Okay, so I am going to read off of my computer. In the first Karen Read trial, which concluded in a mistrial in July of 2024, a total of 74 witnesses testified over the course of nearly 2 months. The prosecution called 68 witnesses, including first responders, police officers, and forensic experts. The defense presented 6 witnesses, such as a snowplow driver who said he didn't see a body, and forensics and specialists in forensic pathology and digital forensics. It was a very long trial. Trial began with opening statements and testimony on April 29th, 2024. Jury deliberations commenced on June 25th, 2024, and they were unable to reach a unanimous verdict, leading Judge Beverly Cannoni to declare a mistrial. The retrial began in April of 2025 and is currently ongoing. Now, I'm reading more. Okay, so the Commonwealth's theory of Massachusetts is that Karen Read struck her boyfriend, police officer John O'Keefe, with her SUV and left him to die in the snow. The defense countered with testimony from a snowplow driver and forensic specialists that argue that O'Keefe was killed inside the house by fellow police officers in that police officer's home, or maybe it was by the teenager, and that the scene was staged to implicate Karen Read. Despite extensive testimony, the jury was unable to read. Okay, so the exact number of individuals who would need to be involved in a conspiracy theory to frame Karen Read depends on the full scope of the alleged cover-up, but based on what's publicly known about her defense theory, dozens and dozens of people would have to either actively participate or remain silent about key elements in the supposed setup. Brian Albert, the homeowner and Boston police officer, was present at the house. Nicole Albert, his wife. Colin Albert, the nephew, who was likely only 17 at the time. And other people at the party, also young, very young adults. Law enforcement, state police troopers, detectives, supervisors, EMTs, firefighters, the medical examiner, the crime scene analysts and technicians, the forensic personnel who viewed cell phone data and location records, the prosecution, and political or institutional figures. Let's see, the estimated head count: 5 people in the house, 5 to 10 state and local police personnel, 2 to 3 prosecutors, 2 to 3 forensic staff. That brings you to about 20 people minimum right there. This scale is a core point of contention. Prosecutors argue that it would be implausible for so many people, professionals across departments, agencies, and roles, to participate in and or overlook a coordinated cover-up without a single credible whistleblower or shred of evidence. The defense argues that the systemic loyalty, fear of career consequences, and familial ties within the law enforcement could account for such silence and complicity. Okay, and these people, 68 prosecution witnesses, would have to either actively lie under oath, which is perjury, omit critical truths that might exonerate Karen, or go along with tainted evidence or interpretations that they knew or know that are false. The core conspirators, which would be the active participants, people who would have to know that they're framing someone, would be about, like I said, about 25 people. The peripheral or passive participants who are willfully blind or complicit would be additional officers who testified with specific observations, 10 to 20 people. The medical examiner and those reporting injuries, 1 to 3 people. Witnesses who may have seen things and testified in line with the prosecution, 10 to 15 people. And anyone testifying in support of alleged staged evidence, for example, snow patterns, vehicle damage, 10 to 15 people, bringing the subtotal to 30 to 50 people who would need to be complicit, actively or passively. 45 to 75 individuals. And that's just to support what unfolded publicly during the trial, which is excluding anyone in the oversight positions, long-term institutional protectors, and those suppressing internal dissent. The scale of this is exactly why the framing theory is so polarizing. Skeptics argue it's implausible for that many people across different agencies to remain quiet without a single leak or defection. And supporters counter police loyalty, family ties, and the stakes of exposing the internal wrongdoing could explain the silence, especially with these close-knit enforcement individuals in a community like Canton. So, do you believe that? I did wonder if there had ever been any large-scale conspiracy to collude and take down one innocent person. The notable comparisons in cases was the Central Park Five, the 5 men who are now exonerated, but they spent lots of years in jail. Then it says there was a Texas drug sting in 1999. Oh wait, the Central Park Five was 1989, 1999. There was 46 residents arrested in a fabricated drug charge in Texas. There was the Rampart scandal in the 90s with LAPD, and an FBI COINTELPRO sting targeting civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King and the Black Panthers. But other than those, and then of course systemic racism, there are really not any cases of such widespread conspiracy and collusion to take down one innocent person. And why would they do that to Karen Reed? I'm not sure. Why would they kill John O'Keefe? These are the things that I'm still unsure of and questioning, which is why I continue to watch the trial, and I will continue on Monday with watching and updates. So join me there. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you never miss another video. CatLoveDreamingPeach.com. Join me. And also don't forget to leave a comment, ask a question, share your opinion. Okay, I think now is a good time. Okay, so this red dot is the house, 34 Fairview. So what I've done here is, oh, do I need to turn this back on? Okay. So I'm going to make some mocks. Okay, so this is 34 Fairview. This is the neighbor's house across the street. That's the neighbor's house also across the street. That's the neighbor right there. There's the house. This is about like 50 to 80 feet. John O'Keefe's body was actually closer to this house. There's this house, which is right there as well. There's this house, which is right here. And another house, which is here. And another house over here. And another house over here. Not a single person from any of these houses. Oh, there were cars. There was the fire truck with the lights, the ambulance with the lights, the cop cars with the lights. There was, Jen's car. There was people. No one came out. Okay, so yes, you would think, oh, how could they not see? How could they not hear? There were no sirens. There was no sirens on the police car, no sirens on the ambulance, no sirens on the fire truck. Yes, there were lights, but again, this is about 50 feet. Okay? This is about 100 feet. So that might be about 100 feet. That might be about 100 feet. That might be about 100 feet. These are big neighborhoods. These are big houses. This is a 6-car garage. Look at that one little car in this driveway. I don't know if it's a 6-car garage. I meant 6-car driveway. Look at all. Nobody came out. One of these houses, I think they got the red Solo cups from. I don't know which one. You can see the numbers on the houses, I think. 34. This one is 34. Let me see if you can see it. I thought I saw the numbers on there. 34, 32, Fairview Ave, Fairview Road, 33, 31, 30. So my point is that people are acting as if it's unbelievably shocking that they didn't come out. However, I don't think so. And also, look at how far Jen would have had to run. So Jen would have had to run really far. I mean, not really far, but like, it would have definitely taken her away from John. So, okay, so here was John. These little dashes are 50 feet. And I have lined them up. And I put little red, let's see if I can. Let's see, I can get myself smaller. Okay. Oh, let me see. Put myself over here. So I made some sideways. And I made some this way. And let's see. Okay, so this line right here, That's 50 feet. I couldn't get them to turn. So you have to just look at it like this. But you can see that, okay, if John was over here, and now I don't know, did they come out this front door or did they come out this side door, which makes more sense because here's the driveway. Like I said, you can see that one car, you can see that a lot of cars could fit in the driveway. This is a large lawn. So if this is 25 feet because it's half, and then that's another 50 feet. You see what I'm saying? For her to leave where they were over here, the cars were over here, they were over here. For her to go run all the way to the house, go inside this house and be like, what's going on? When John was over here, it doesn't make sense. So look, these bars, I'll move myself a little more. Okay, these bars are 50 feet. And how do I know that? Because here, based on the Googles here, it's the 50 feet, and I just literally copied it and I pasted it here and here and here, and I lined it up. You can see it. Okay, so you can see how the neighborhood is laid out. You can see where the vehicles would have been, where they were. You can see how, so from, let me try to lean out. From here, that's 50, that's 100, that's like 200 feet. I'm leaning back. This like 200 feet over here. Okay, you see that? These are big houses with big lawns, big driveways, lots of trees in the way. So is it crazy that nobody came out? Well, there's trees all around here. There's trees all around here. There's trees, you know, trees are a kind of insulator. So there's trees all around here. And it was snowing. Here's another view of 34 Fairview. So it's an aerial view. They have a pool. You can see, again, this is about 80 feet from here to here. Another view with the, so you see I lined it up. So this first bar, I put them exactly on top of each other so it wouldn't be staggered like that. And I put the red bars so you can see that they're exactly lined up. So the first line is like they're one on top of each other. But the bottom line, they're staggered so that you can see how it is really, I didn't overlay it or squeeze it or extend it or anything. I used that down there, exactly the same size, and I couldn't get it to turn, like to angle, but I just wanted to show distance, you know. So this, from halfway to here, that's 25 feet right there. Then that's another 25, that's 50 feet, you know. So like as I was saying, they got out of their car, they got out of the house over here, they went that way. They were not looking at John. Okay, they got out of the house. They went this way. They got into the car. They got over here. They backed out. And then they went this way. And they didn't see him. And it makes sense to me. It's believable. Personally, I find it believable. Another shot. You can see the neighborhood from the air. Ooh, okay. again, looks real close. It looks like 1 inch. Now, the jury went to see it, and Peter Tragos was saying, oh, they should wait. They should do it at the end. They should do the jury view at the end after. And I agree they should do it at the beginning, because then the whole time they're hearing the evidence, they can picture it in their head instead of spending the entire 8 weeks building up a picture in their head and then getting there and being like, oh, that's not what I was imagining. But by then it's too late, because they've already formulated their ideas. This way, here's a visual of 34 Canton. I'm just scrolling out because I can't believe how much greenery there is. Just looks like a lot of untouched greenery. So, but I'm zooming in to 34 Fairview Road, and I've already just shown the neighborhood. This is 34 Fairview Road, and again, here's the scale, the 50-foot. So these are large lawns, big houses with large lawns. But what I really wanted to show again, so this red dot is where, unfortunately, John O'Keefe was found, and the defense has been trying to claim that there's no way that they could have gotten out of this house, into their cars, driven out, and not noticed him, despite the fact that it was very dark and snowing. But this is something else that I really wanted to show, which is, let's see, if they were in the house. Okay, so this is the back of the house. So he was somewhere over here, and they were in the house somewhere. I don't know where their bedrooms are. I don't know where they were asleep in here. But, you know, if we assume that this is their bed, oh wait. I guess this is not their bedroom window, because there's no window there? How could there not be a window there? That's crazy. So maybe this is their bedroom window, and they were able to see it if they had been awake and looking out, but they didn't. But if there's any chance that their bedrooms are back here, maybe they really truly couldn't see it. I don't know where their bedrooms are, but again, the cops didn't have their sirens on. The ambulances may have been over here. The trees might have been blocking their view. Or the fact that they were asleep may have blocked their view. So just another angle where you can see that this is a very large driveway. This driveway could potentially have 6 to 9 cars, depending on how tight you park. And again, now you can see that we're zoomed in, and this is showing 10. That's a 10-foot scale, which means this is, let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-foot yard. So I just wanted to share that from these angles. Rest in peace, John, and may you get justice. Now I know he was found 10 to 12 feet from the curb. Remember how Karen said it wasn't a fire hydrant, it wasn't a bush or a hedge, it was a buffalo on the prairie. just, wow. Looking around a bit and the neighborhood, just getting a sense of the house and the street. Here you can see if there's enough room for 3 cars to fit across. 1, 2, 3. You can tell for sure because obviously a car can fit in here, right? And there's room. You can see this car here, so there's room. And there's a car here as well. So this could potentially be, that is a big driveway with 2 cars right there. Even more cars. Just looking around the neighborhood. All of the lawns are large and these are large homes. Looks like a quiet neighborhood, but a lot of trees would muffle the sound. A lot of trees around each house. It also probably looks a lot different on a bright, sunny afternoon, clear skies, and nothing is blocking any visibility, unlike that night. So again, if they were coming out of this door or this door, the fact is that they would be coming out and turning this way to go this direction. They're not coming out and walking over here. They're coming out and they're going this way. They're getting in their cars. As they drive out, as they back out of their car, the lights would be shining straight ahead and back. And oops, okay. And as they back out this way, yes, it's very likely that the lights would have gone across here. But again, this is not a 10-foot driveway. You're talking about backing out over here. If you're over here backing out, again, look down here. This is 50 feet. So you're talking about from here to here, this is about 80 feet. So he's supposed to back out over here, and you're expecting the lights to be shining on it, John's body, all the way over there, about 50 to 80 feet ahead of him. I don't think he had that much field of vision because it was snowing. So they back out and they just drive off with no idea that he's over here. That's what I think. All right, I wasn't satisfied, so I made some more graphics so I could explore a little more. Let me see if I can get myself moved over. So I'm going to talk about it. I made the 50-foot lines that actually were angled, so you could actually see that this is indeed about, it's 100 feet across. I also wanted to see what would his body have looked like. So I took the 50-foot line and I lined up 8 bodies to get the scale of how his body would be, what size it would be. Okay, and then I overlaid it onto the lawn to show this is a 50-foot line. And then there's the body on the lawn around where it would have been. So I'm going to go through these photos slower a second time. I'm just scanning. So there, it's like, imagine he's laying there. It's covered with the snow. They're coming out from the driveway down and past. And, you know, right as they're going by here, you would think maybe they'd see him, but he's like 10 to 12, maybe 15 feet off from the curb. Okay, so now here's a little bit more to scale. So the point of this is to show that the lawn is a lot bigger than it might appear, and that his body would have been pretty small on this lawn. The scale of the lawn, the scale of his body. So this again is a 50-foot line with 8 dashes to show a 6'2" man scale against a 50-foot. So you can see here the lawn is actually like when she was over here with him, dealing with him, for her to go back into the house, it would have been like 100 feet across. This is also 100 feet across. This is also to show what I was talking about. Even if they're in the front bedroom, maybe they couldn't hear because it's 100 feet away, which is further than, and there was no sirens, which, yes, the sirens would pierce through, but a woman screaming in the snow 100 feet away, and that's assuming they're in that front bedroom. So again, this is just to show his body on the lawn with the scale of the 50-foot markers. This is showing that the lawn is 100 feet across, and that it's not a tiny little section where they're literally stepping over him. Okay. Again, just showing this is like a body, like a crime scene. And this is the scale of a 50-foot dash. And this is to show, and there I'm showing him on the lawn without all the dashes, and then imagine it's snowy and it's snow covered and the snow is still coming down and they're not looking for him, they're not expecting him there. So this is just to really emphasize with a visual that it's not as if it would have been insane or ludicrous for them not to see him. And also, when she was talking about she could see the tire marks in the street, but she didn't see him. And again, I think that does sound believable, regardless of which, if she was looking out either of these windows, and then you imagine she's looking across. Additional analyzing whether or not it's bizarre or completely understandable why they did not see John. If John was laying about 12 feet away from the curb on a lawn and you're driving on the road, here's how it changes the visibility situation, especially at night and it's snowing, it's a blizzard. Key factors to consider: distance and angle. If someone is 12 feet laterally from the road and maybe lying flat, he was lying flat on the grass, and you're not looking straight at them, your headlights are aimed forward and slightly down, not sideways. They are designed to light up the road in front of you, not the lawn. Most standard low beams spread about 45 to 60 degrees total, but they fall off sharply towards the sides. The person 12 feet off the road may be outside your direct line, your direct light cone, or just barely on the fringe where the light is weakest, and likely they are in the shadows. The light beam is going to kind of make a little bit darker edge, like shadow. Lighting conditions at 5 to 6 a.m., it's going to be pitch dark with there were street lights, but probably only in isolated areas. For example, when she said she was looking out from the house and she did see some snow tracks on the road, she said there was a street light illuminating that part, not over there where John was laying. So the lawn will be in shadows, especially if there's trees or a house that's casting shadow. The person laying flat is going to have a very low profile, and it won't catch a lot of light unless illuminated from above or very close range. And if it's blended into the grass, wearing dark clothing and or snow covered, blending into the landscape with shadows and light and dark and snow and all of these visual impairments, it will be very hard to see them, especially in those conditions, unless they're moving wearing something bright and reflective, and your high beams are directly catching them at the right angle, you're probably not going to see them. So, in conclusion, it would be very difficult to see someone lying 12 feet off the road on a lawn in pitch black conditions in a snowy blizzard, even if they're only 50 feet ahead of you, especially with low beams, no ambient light. You might not see them at all unless you're looking carefully and specifically toward that part of the lawn. Again, take that last line. Unless you are looking carefully and specifically at the lawn, you very likely will not see them. And link that back to what Karen Reed said about she was expecting to find him. She was looking to see him on the side of the road. He looked like a buffalo, like a lump, because she was expecting it and anticipating it, which she said with her own words. What do you think about that? So again, this is 100 feet across, and this is also about 75 to 100 feet from the house to the curb or the middle of the road. When you're talking about the scale of what she's looking across, whether she's here or there, that's a long distance to imagine seeing a tiny little thing relative to the scale of where she was and what she's looking at. Okay, so here you can see a car, and you can see his body, and you can see how small it looks, and there's all these bushes. And again, this is just a this is just a Google snap. We don't know what it looks like now. For example, I have a client who she said, "Oh, can you mail something?" And I looked at the Google picture and I was like, "That's where she lives?" And it was like totally under construction, but then another angle showed it's all done. So who knows what kind of bushes were around here, what might have been blocking the view, how much the trees may have grown since this image was taken, whenever it was taken. And again, for them to have murdered him, somebody murdered him in the house. Who murdered him? Why did they murder him? How did they murder him? They smashed him in the back of the head with a bat, and then they dragged him all the way, like right out here. And the more that you look at the neighborhood, the backyard, the trees, there's a pool, there's a basement, like there's a huge house with all these different places. If they truly, genuinely wanted to kill that man, if they wanted to kill John, of all the things that they would have done, why would they do this? Why would 3 grown men who are cops, who have access to so many things, who know about evidence, who know... So, just to finish up the thought, it just seems like it would be such a careless thing to do. And also kind of what a weird coinky-dink that multiple people saw Karen there. And even she admits that she did, go there. Well, after Jen McCabe reminded her. So why would they murder this man in this giant house? Not giant, but it's pretty big. And there's a big lawn. There's trees on both sides. They've got cop cars. They could go anywhere. They could put him in one of their cars and drive him to anywhere. Another more modern view, again, it almost looks tiny until you realize the scale of the pickup truck in the driveway. Looks like there's trees and bushes there now. Again, if it had looked like that when this happened, then that would have minimized visibility again. So just trying to look around the neighborhood. You see all that greenery up there. That's what I was saying. If they really had done this, why would they leave him there? Why wouldn't they drop him somewhere in there. Or maybe they could have put him any other place. Again, I get the idea that, the whole point is that they're framing Karen, but did they know that Karen had been exactly there? Again, they said Jen saw her vehicle there, but so that means that Jen was completely aware that they were murdering John, and Jen said, "Hey, let's drop him right there on the front lawn where I saw Karen leave him." Does that sound feasible to you, or does it seem much more likely that that's where she left him when she hit him? And that's exactly where she found him, exactly where she was expecting to find him? Which seems more true to you? There's that whole big bunch of forest. I mean, again, if you're a cop, you're going to know about evidence, and you're going to know, like, if you put a body on your own lawn that, that could potentially be suspicious, especially if that man was murdered by somebody in the house. Now, of course, you could say, well, they covered it all up. That's the whole point. They did that, and then they did it on purpose to frame Karen. It just seems like a really shoddy plan. It just seems so kind of crazy. And does it really matter if she said, I hit him, or could I have hit him, or did I hit him? Why was she saying that? How did they frame her enough to say that? Not believable. So again, there's an image of what someone to scale would look like. This is showing 100 feet going this way and 100 feet going this way. I finally figured out how I could tilt them a bit. And these are lined up. They're lined up. And this is showing, these little dashes are showing about 6 foot in between. Again, for this scale. And it even looks a little bit snow covered, actually. So those are my thoughts. I made this long video, and then it was really late, and I shared a version, an early drop for members. But I had to drop my son off early this morning for a sports thing, and I was thinking, you know what, I can figure out how to turn these and make it more accurate, actually align, and I wanted to do this. So it's pretty morbid and sad, but I feel like this gives a better sense of how small his body would have looked in comparison to the large yard. And again, it was dark, it was snowing. How far can a human eye see? And what were they looking at? And all that. Alrighty. Now I'm going to read the 2 scenarios, and this is just basically to respond to Alan Jackson asking Jen McCabe why she didn't run into the house. In my opinion, I believe that he was insinuating that she should have run into the house. She should have seen if something was wrong with them. She could have and should have gotten Brian Albert's help. The way Alan Jackson questioned her made it seem as if there was a first responder who was literally, right there, but instead of her doing that, she called 911. Well, again, so I asked ChatGPT to see what they thought. Okay, so I say, take this emergency setting and tell me what would make the most sense. You drive up to a house and you find a man in the snow. He's frozen. He's on the lawn. The lawn is 100 feet across and about 75 feet from where the man is to the front door of the house. The man is 10 to 12 feet away from the curb. There's another house also about that same distance to the left, but there's a line of trees between the other house and that man. You drive up and it's pitch black. It's about 6 a.m. and the sun hasn't come out yet. Everybody's asleep. The neighborhood is quiet. When you get there, you see the man in the snow, you're panicked, and you need help. You have a friend with you, and you're not sure if he's dead or alive. In scenario one, you call 911, you stay with the man. Between you and your friend, you're getting blankets from the trunk of the car, trying to warm him up, doing compressions while you're on the phone with 911. And you stay there, and 911 comes in about 8 minutes. The second scenario would be, you know there's a first responder who's asleep in the house. You know he's there, you know he's asleep. He's most likely sleeping on the 3rd floor in one of the master bedrooms, and he's completely unaware of anything that's happening. You also know that he's asleep. Again, the sun has not risen, it's dark. The second option, you run all the way across this lawn, and you then get into the house, and then you run up the stairs, and you go to the bedroom, and you wake the man up, and then once you wake him up, you explain what's happening, and then he gets dressed enough to go outside, because again, it's cold and it's snowing. And by the time you get back to the man, okay, then you try to help him. And maybe while you were running to the house and explaining everything to the man, you also somehow were calling 911. Okay, so, and maybe your friend was there, but your friend was alone, so, it's just very disjointed. Okay, so option one, immediate CPR can make a difference between life and death, especially in the case of hypothermia-related collapse. You're not wasting precious minutes trying to get inside of a house and wake somebody up. EMS is already en route, with the friend splitting duties between compression, warmth, flagging down EMS, talking to them on the phone. You are making the best option. Okay, option two, you run to the house to get the sleeping first responder, possibly calling 911 while running. If you were successful, it is possible that you could bring somebody with training, possibly faster than EMS. However, if they don't have all of those things in their house ready to go, you're losing critical minutes running to a house, possibly trying to wake somebody up, explaining the situation, hoping that they respond quickly. The man in the snow may not be receiving CPR or any warmth, reducing his survival chances if there were any. The first responder might be disoriented, asleep, not equipped to jump up and immediately respond the way somebody on 911 is, because they're literally there waiting to do that. And that would delay 911 and the ambulance getting there. So the conclusion is calling 911 immediately and staying with the body is the absolute best option, by far the fastest and most effective response. Even if a trained person is nearby, waking them up and bringing them outside and explaining the situation will cost the victim critical minutes that they cannot afford. And anyone trying to say that you should have chosen option two instead of option one, they're really just, they're not understanding that the immediacy of action, the logic behind emergency protocol, and the intent to act in the victim's best interest is calling 911 and staying with the body. So that is just absolutely clear. Also, it says brain damage can begin within 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen. Waiting 3 to 5 minutes to run inside a house to wake somebody up risks losing that window entirely. And when you call 911, trained EMS is dispatched immediately. They come ready with the equipment, the training, and the authority to take over. When you go running into a house to somebody who's literally not sitting there waiting to respond, everything gets lost. It's critical delays. And I just wanted to say that what Jen did makes perfect sense. It follows emergency protocol. Calling 911, staying with the body is the right thing to do. Running into a house, especially one that's not just 5 feet away, but 100 feet away, plus this getting into the house, getting all the way up to the 3rd floor, waking the sleeping person, explaining what's happening, getting them to respond. Probably they're not wearing their gear to go outside in the blizzard, all of which she did actually do, but after 911 came, after the EMS came, after the police came, after somebody asked her, after one of the officers asked her, go inside the house and go inside your sister's house and get them. And again, people like, oh my God, how could they have done that? Because like Jen testified to, the reason she wasn't worried about the safety of her sister and brother-in-law was because they found him outside in the snow all the way over there by the curb. And your client, which is what she said, Karen Reed, was running around screaming, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Did I hit him? Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? So it seemed pretty clear that it had nothing to do with what was going on in the house. But she did go in the house, and she did have to wake them up, and she did have to explain all of that, which did take time, I'm sure. But she did it after she did all the other things that she was supposed to do. Getting the ambulance, calling 911, telling them what was happening, waiting for the cops, making sure that the situation on the ground with John was being taken care of, then running inside. When she was asked to do so by police, the law enforcement, whether or not that's what they should have done, or the police should have gone, probably the police should have done it themselves, I agree. But does that mean that her and those people killed him? I don't think so. Do you? The fact that Alan Jackson was questioning her and trying again, like every single question I feel comes with this insinuation of nefarious, ill intent, malicious intent. Why didn't you say that he was a cop? Were you trying to slow them down? Like literally blaming a woman, accusing a woman of doing something terrible when she was trying to save a life. I think the jury is going to see that. And I think just like that person who commented on Emily D. Baker, that she's so nervous because she thinks that this jury is going to find her credible just like the last jury. Shouldn't you be nervous over the fact that 24 people will find somebody credible, but you want to cling to these delusions that this was all a setup? Well, I'm going to keep on watching, see what I think. So I just did a little similar thing that I had done with 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Massachusetts, where I did screenshots, and then I took the 50-foot scale line and I laid it across the lawn so that you could see how large their lawn actually is, because people have it in their head like, well, it was a flat lawn and there it was, he was right there. And I'm trying to point out that actually it was about a 50 to 80 foot distance, and it was dark, it was snowing, it was cold, they was late, they had been drinking, they were tired, and they were going home. And the way I show it, it doesn't seem like what Alan Jackson and Yannetti are trying to make it seem like. You absolutely had to have seen that. There was no way you could have not seen it. And it's raining. It's raining. Can you hear that? And I'm just trying to show comparison that of a smaller yard, where I think that a much smaller yard, yes, I could say, wow, there's no way you would miss that, or you would think you would not miss that. And let's see, I'll show you. Okay, so here's one. Let me move myself over. Okay, so I put those houses on top of the houses. So for privacy, because I'm not really trying to I just want to show a comparison of a different kind of street. So you can see down at the bottom, down here, that it's a 10-foot scale. Unlike the other one, the 34 Fairview had a 50-foot scale. That line on the line for the scale on Fairview Ave was 50 foot, where this is 10 foot. And so I put a bunch together, 10, 20, 30, 40 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So what I'm showing you here is that in a much smaller, in a neighborhood with a lot smaller houses, where this is literally, this is a 20-foot yard, and then you got 10 feet for the driveway, and so this is 30 feet. So if you were going to come out of this house and get in your car, and there's a dead body on the corner here, the chances of you missing it are a lot smaller, okay? But that's what I'm trying to show you, that the scale here, and yes, you could say, well, but it was flat, you know, but there's still distance, and when it's dark and there's snow and you know, you're not like looking over there 80 feet into the distance. It does make a difference. This is literally like 2 houses over on this street. So you know, this isn't conclusive or anything. I'm just showing you that the scale of their neighborhood. Okay, here's their house. These are 50-foot dashes. So here you can see that it's a lot larger of a lawn, which is going to make visibility less. And again, if they're coming out from this door or this door, they're turning their backs, this red dot where John's body was, they would be facing this way, going into the cars, and then driving down the driveway and going this way, where I think that it's believable that they didn't see him because of the scale of the distance, compared to here, where if somebody was coming out of this driveway and driving by here, it seems like less likely that they would miss it because it's right there, which, you know, it's not a guarantee. Like, in order to see something, you have to fucking look at it. You gotta like look at it, and not only look at it, you have to register it. You ever been in a store or somewhere out and about, and you see somebody that you see them frequently in a specific setting, let's say like maybe the librarian, or you know, maybe you see the cashier who's always ringing you up, but you see them, you know, you see them in another store as a customer, or you see them walking on the street. You know, you see somebody. I have literally been on a line in the supermarket, standing there, and the person right behind me appeared to be looking directly into my face, and I'm looking at them like, why is this person not saying hello to me? Like, we know each other. And then, you know, like, Sally? And then like, oh, I was literally zoned out. I looked like I was looking at you, but I wasn't looking at you. I was thinking about something else. And my point is that you can even be looking like you're looking somewhere, but if you're not focused on it, if you're not thinking about that, if you're not like actually trying to perceive something, you can glance in a direction and not see something, especially something you're not looking for. If you're not looking for the thing and you're not paying attention in that direction, and there's a 50-foot, 80-foot distance, why is it so unbelievable that they wouldn't have seen his body? If I remember correctly, one of those young women that they were driving home, I don't remember if it was Julie Nagel or the other one whose name I don't remember at the moment, but one of them testified that they thought they saw something, and they were like, what's that? And then nobody commented back, and so they just let it go. And I also went back to watch one of the first videos that I had made about, you know, my initial first thoughts when I first started watching it. And I talked about, there was two witnesses who mentioned, one witness mentioned seeing a man and a woman in an SUV parked outside, and another witness mentioned seeing just a woman with the dome light on inside the car, and she only saw a woman there. So I wonder if they will be testifying again as well. But I just wanted to add the clips that I had made showing the neighborhood and how none of those people did come out, and just looking at their house from different views and comparing that other neighborhood with the different scale, just as a comparison that, you know, when you look at the house and you say, oh wow, he was literally right there, how could they not see it? But like, the scale is relative to the size, and again, the time of day, the weather conditions, the mindset of the people who were, you know, the so-called ones who would have seen it, and all the other details. So again, I will be watching trial back on Monday and making additional videos. So thank you for joining. Thank you for my new subscribers. And if you like me to shout you out, I will shout you out if you join as a member. Thank you. And I will see you soon. All right, I'm turning this light off and I'm going to do a little bit more exploring. Okay, here's one more shot of the neighborhood and how none of these neighbors came out. But again, these are big ass houses. Here's a shot of the backyard, which gives you a more realistic scale of the yard. And here's another view. Again, it's from the backyard. There's the pool, but it gives you a sense of like how wide it is, unlike the Google Maps, which makes it look like it's really tiny, but it's not really tiny. And I was looking, and I think there is a bedroom in the front. It's on the 3rd floor. Again, here's the front. Give you another idea of the sense of the scale. Again, look at this driveway. We saw a photo with 2 cars, one over here, and obviously room for another car here. So again, here in this neighborhood where these are 10-foot dashes instead of 50-foot, here you can see a driveway that does take 3 cars, kind of, except the 3rd car has to park on the grass. So, and you can see how the car, but the full car, you see it's right against the garage, and that the sidewalk is basically right there. So you can see this is basically a 2-car driveway. You can squeeze a 3rd car in, and that gives you a sense of the scale compared to this driveway that easily had 3 cars. This is a really high view, but you can see this is the house. There's the 1 car. We know 2 cars can fit over there, and look at how much room is behind them. You could probably fit another 2 cars. That gives you the sense of how big this yard is compared to a little yard like this, where if you come out, of course you're going to see a dead body because it's going to be literally right there, unlike this yard, this driveway, and how much bigger it is and how much lower the visibility would be from here to there at night in a blizzard. So if you're getting in your car over here and this is where the body is, this is 150 feet compared to 20 feet. So here's a blueprint. So, you know, maybe people are mad because they're wealthy and they live in a big old ass house. It's a 5-bedroom house with 4 bathrooms. Looks like they bought it in 2010 and sold it April 10th of 2023. So looking at the 3rd floor, it looks like, I think this is the front of the house. There is a bedroom here, there's a bedroom here, there's a bedroom here, there's a bedroom here. So actually I think this might be the front of the house. So this might be the bedroom that was like overlooking, but it's getting cut off. Okay, but here you can see there's no window on this side of the house. There's no window. There's windows in the front, but not on the side. Okay, here, so there's these windows on the front, which yes, they would have a decent view, I guess, out here. Again, if you were awake and you were looking and you're in that room, because how do we know that that's the room they were sleeping in? What if they were sleeping in the back? We don't know. Maybe they'll ask, but here you can actually see that there's no window on this side. So, and from this angle, this is what I was trying to find earlier, which I didn't look like that in the other photo. But if they were here and the bushes are like this, maybe they wouldn't have seen him. But, if they were in any of these other rooms. And again, if you're sleeping, if you're very deep asleep and you're a deep sleeper and you're not a light sleeper, some flashing lights outside and even somebody screaming, it might be muffled by the fact that it's snowing and there's all these trees. And again, this is a long distance. It's not like somebody's standing on your lawn, directly under your window screaming, and there's it's a 10-foot lawn, and so they're literally 5 feet away from your window. In this situation, they were over here. This is probably, again, 50 to 80 feet away. 50 to 80 feet away. So a quick search. In ideal conditions, a human can generally hear a normal speaking voice at a distance of around 15 to 20 feet under ideal conditions. So if, she's screaming, then they could potentially hear her obviously a lot closer, but background noise and distance. So if they were 50 to 80 feet away, then maybe they couldn't hear her screaming because they were too far away. Again, all of these little details matter. You can say, you didn't wake up, you didn't come outside, you didn't run in the house, making it seem like the door was 5 feet away, the window's 5 feet away, the lawn is 10 feet, and, everything is right there, and the neighbors are 5 feet away. These neighbors, in a neighborhood like this, people are screaming and stuff. Of course, everybody's going to come out. A neighborhood at this scale where, again, from here to here is 100 feet. So if she's over here screaming and it's 100 feet away from the window or 75 feet away from the window, they didn't hear her. It's not that they were in there ignoring it, cleaning up a dead body. It seems like they didn't hear her legitimately. And then another point is that a house like this is probably built a bit stronger against the elements and maybe has some soundproofing more so than a smaller house that's maybe not as fancy. So those are my thoughts added to yesterday's thoughts about day 8, as well as some other details, questions that they've been asking Jen McCabe, and general questions about, I keep readjusting my shirt. General questions about the house, the street, the neighbors, the distance, the setup, why wouldn't you run into the house? Oh, this is my bowl of broccoli I'm about to eat. All right. So those are my thoughts. Again, if you automatically assume somebody's guilty because they're wealthy or because they are connected to each other, if there's true evidence of a conspiracy, and again, Who is the one who supposedly killed John? In this theory, who did it? Was it Brian Higgins because he was texting with Karen for a month and she kissed him and he was like, how'd you get my number? Why are you texting me? What do you like? I thought you had a man. I thought you were happy. Oh, you're out here trying to get with me? Does John know? I like John. John's a good guy. You know, stuff like that. And then people will take that and twist it. Why did he throw his cell phone away? I don't know. He's a cop. God knows what's on there. God knows what cases he's had to deal with. God knows. Maybe he's corrupt and he had some terrible shit on there. Maybe he KILLED'd John O'Keefe and framed Karen. I don't know. It seems pretty far-fetched and far-flung. But I'm going to keep on watching. And I will report back. Join me. Hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification. CatLoveDreaming.com. Bye. I already turned all the lights out. Oh, I could turn this on. I turned all the lights behind me off because I was getting ready for bed, and I'm putting the snow because, snow. But since I talked about how far people could hear, I wanted to add how far can people see? Because yet again, my posture. If it's a 50 to 100 feet away from them, it says if you've got 20/20 vision, you can see up to 20 feet away. However, yet again, it was more than 20 feet away. It was in the dark. It was in the snow. Snow makes visibility even less. And if you're not paying attention and you're not even looking that way and you're not looking for it, how hard would it be to miss? How hard would it be to miss a man lying on the ground, snow-covered, in the dark, somewhere you're not looking, that's 100 to 50 feet away from you, and visibility is only up to 20 feet, but it's nighttime and it's snowing, and maybe at some point they did drive just a few feet away. It's likely that they did actually drive just 5 to 10 feet away from where his body was. I don't know exactly how far. Let me see. 10 to 12 feet from the curb. So if that's true, yikes, then that means that they were even less close. That means that if he was 10 to 12 feet from the curb, that would mean that as they drove by, first of all, as they were getting in their cars and everything, they were a good 100 feet away probably. How would they have seen him? Then they're in their cars and they're talking to each other or just looking straight ahead. Like, maybe it's true that Julie Nagel, or who was the other person? Sarah Levinson. During the first trial, Julie Nagel testified that she noticed a, quote, black blob, end quote, on the lawn near the flagpole. Due to the darkness and the snowfall, she couldn't clearly identify the object and did not alert anyone at the time. It was only later that she connected this observation and the discovery of John O'Keefe's body in that location. After dropping off Nagel and Levinson, the McCabe's returned to their home around 2:10 a.m. Okay, and then so Sarah Levinson was the other one that they gave a ride home. So the more that I look into it and dive into Alan Jackson's questions and accusations and insinuations, the more it seems that what he's trying to point out is not true. It's not weird that she didn't run into the house. It would have been really fucking weird if she did. It's not weird that they didn't hear them because they were so far away, it was farther than a human ear could hear. And it's not weird that they didn't see them when it was further than a human eye could see. And the conditions and everything going on, the one moment when they might have been 12 to 15 feet away from him, they would have had to have been looking at him and thinking, not thinking about whatever they were talking about and doing. So is it bizarre to me that they didn't see him, that nobody ran out, that they didn't hear her screaming? I think it's not weird. I think that it makes more sense when you deep dive into the geography and the typography and...
Louis? Ray here says you've been taking us in the wrong direction.
I was confused by the topography and the geography and the choreography and ow! Prickabushes just got me. Gator down! Gator down!
catlovedreamingpeach.com.
catlovedreamingpeach.com.
catlovedreamingpeach.com.